Greetings and welcome to the third official episode of our Abandoned Projects, where we take a look at the forgotten, yet at one time quite promising mods of the past, left in an incomplete state with the hope that someone someday would find them and finish them. These are mods that, for one reason or another, were just never finished, but there's still, some cool concepts to check out here, and perhaps someone out there watching will take up the call and to finish these ambitious projects. And as always, I'm your host, Elf Guy, and today we're going to be taking a look at the relatively unknown mod, the City of Blackhawk by, and I know I'm just going to screw up this pronunciation here, Rumpelstilzchen and SciMuse, a fairly impressive looking town mod from 2004 that was just never quite finished. It was picked up briefly in 2007 by SciMuse, who cleaned the mod and fixed a few issues, but otherwise, left it in an incomplete state. Now, I must mention one little thing here before we begin. The original author did not actually set any permissions regarding this project, and also didn't leave any contact information in the README file, so this mod is sort of in permission limbo. Now, personally, I'm not really an extremist when it comes to, cathedralism and parlorism views. I support modders' rights, and believe modders have a say in how their creations are used, but for abandoned, unfinished projects like this, where the original author has been gone for over a decade, I do think there ought to be a statute of limitations. So even though the permissions aren't clear, and there's no contact information available, I'd say this mod, unless the original author comes back and says otherwise, which is, definitely a possibility, stranger things have happened, I would say this mod is open for anyone to take up and finish themselves, so long as proper credit is given to the original author. Anyway, with that said, download links are down below, so let's get started here. The City of Blackhawk adds a new town to the southern Grazelands region, a walled-in settlement with farms along the outermost set of walls here, and the city centre behind some more, formidable fortifications. And right away, you can tell this is a pretty scenic and atmospheric town design, with peaceful farmlands that, for the most part, blend right in with the terrain here, including a couple of windmills and numerous more Imperial-style farm animals just running about everywhere. And, this is a pretty prime location for a town of some sort, given the extensive population of western Vvardenfell. I always thought it was a bit strange how a, more rich region like the Grazelands had next to no real towns in it, and largely no Imperial presence, despite the Imperial settlements in the West Gash, Bitter Coast, Ascane Isles, Sheol-Gorad, and Ashlands regions. It just seems like the Grazelands would be a good place for the Imperials to set up a fort, as clearly they meant to with Tel Voss, and also to take advantage of some farmland, but that's just me. And in any event, outside of some terrain seams here and there, I really like the look of this outer farming area. It feels natural and scenic, and I like the tree-lined roads and fenced-in little farmsteads here. There's just something incredibly peaceful and relaxing about this little farming region. But of course, the meat of the city is towards the center here, with large fortified gates and walls going around the center town. And this really isn't a massive town per se. It does have a Mages Guild, a Fighters Guild, multiple taverns, at least one of which is probably meant for a Thieves Guild hideout, several shops and homes, and also a Governor's Mansion. But in total, I'd say there's only about maybe 45 buildings for the entire town here, including the farmlands. Possibly a little less than that, depending on whether or not you count the Imperial Gate Towers and the various windmills and all that. But either way, the city and town design here is pretty fantastic, and blends in well with the rest of the game world, though it perhaps has a more sort of, medieval city design about it, that's perhaps more reminiscent of the cities of Daggerfall than Morrowind. But anyway, it should be noted, as we'll see here in a bit, that pretty much all of these buildings already have interior layouts, with the exception of one building and two sub-basements. Every interior already has a grid snap shell. So not only is this mod pretty much exterior complete already, with almost nothing that really needs to be done on the exterior side of things, except fixing a few landscape texture seams and all that, and a little bit of Z-fighting along one of the curtain walls, but also a fair chunk of the interior work has already been done for you. There's even one or two nearly finished interiors, though it'll be up to whoever takes up the project to decide if they want to keep those or not. And in any event, unlike the last couple of mods we've looked at for this series, this one could actually be finished by just one modder. Pleasure and Expanded and Harshlands were big and ambitious projects. The City of Blackhawk is, in comparison, much more modest in scale, with only, as previously mentioned, about 45 buildings, almost all of which already have interior shells, and just need to be finished, cluttered, and detailed. In addition, Blackhawk would probably need some new quests and dungeons, since there's multiple guilds located here, and it would probably be a good setting to introduce a new faction if you wanted to. maybe 25 quests would be needed in total, with half a dozen dungeons, which is a fair bit of work, but, manageable for a dedicated modder to accomplish in maybe a year or so. Possibly a year and a half if they wanted to. And if you had 2 or 3 modders working on this, it would take much less than a year to finish. And anyway, point is, out of all the mods we've looked at for the Abandoned Project series so far, City of Blackhawk is by far the most realistic to potentially finish. And anyway, I almost forgot to mention that the city does have a separate set of docks, as you can see here, with an Imperial keep and takeable ships at port. And again, the design here is pretty good. And really, the exterior side of things for the settlement is pretty much finalized already. There's no real need for massive changes. And moving on, we're going to take a look at a couple of interiors here. And as mentioned before, there's about 2 interiors that are, already partially finished. And while the interior design is perhaps not as good as the exterior of this beautiful town, it's nonetheless a pretty decent quality. But again, it'll be up to whoever takes up this project to decide whether they want to keep these interiors in or just replace them. But anyway, before we end our showcase video here, I did just want to take a look at a few of the interior shells, so you can get some idea of how much has really already been done with this mod. And again, the shells here are pretty much ready to be finished and detailed. They're all linked up to the exterior world space, and they're all labeled already, so you know which ones are guilds or shops or homes or taverns or what have you. And I have to say, this is a really tempting project. I wouldn't mind trying to finish it myself, except, I already have a lot on my plate, so I really shouldn't be getting greedy, though it is oh so tempting. And anyway, for a mod from 2004, City of Blackhawk has a lot going for it, and with any luck, someone will take up the call and finish this rather impressive looking city mod. And that pretty much wraps up this episode of Morrowind's Abandoned Projects. Again, download links are down below, and we'll be back in about a month with the Imperial city of Cyrodiil. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.